This is day 528 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor our coming share or more, the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It'd be very greatly appreciated. Today we're starting a new siman, Shin Chaf, and going from Aleph to Yud. Siman Shin Chaf. Avos Malachos, Shel Hadosh, Hatzovea, Malabin, Dinei Schita. Avos Malachos of Dosh, Tzovea, Malabin, and Dinei laws of Schita. We'll see what those mean. Aleph, Hadosh, somebody who, Hadosh is threshing. Hatzovea, that's dying. Malabin, bleaching. Hey, Avos Malachos. These are Avos Malachos. V'disha is a Mishkan. The Isha, what took place in the Mishkan, some money. They used to plant the dyes, and we made a little some of that to thresh them when they harvested them. But so they actually you hold some of the tchelas. Used to call it the tchelas. Yerushalmi the cloud garo memad tzvia is a Mishkan. What Yerushalmi says, it's a different version of what tzvia was in the Mishkan. She was shalvatim bevema baroslim odamim. They would smite the animals. Well, Arukh explains. They used to hit the animals with a rod in order that the hide should become reddened through the blood thereof. This is astonishing. This is Yerushalmi. The Shabbat says it leaves the obvious source of dying the chelas and takes on a really kind of sideline minor. I don't know if minor is the right term, but not as important dying of the sort. Arukh HaShulchan says, no, it's not as a big deal. It says that if you add red to the lip, you are liable. Meaning a lip which is red, and you add red to it, chayav, you're liable, even though it's already red. We know in Lomar Kain, why would you say it? So in the Dom Tzvias Tchelas, it's not like the dying of Tchelas, so I have a Tzviya Gemara, which is the complete and total dying. So it says this thing about hitting the animal with rods. Even a small incremental dying, kihai, such as Habitzviya, is a form of dying. Mulabin, bleaching, Shemlabin Semro Pishtan, they would dye wool or linen or cold over not dye. They would bleach, any wool or linen or cold over anything which requires bleaching. But I have a Mishkan Biros the Sheish Mazal, they couldn't display took his Mishkan in the curtains of the linen, woven linen, they couldn't add the garments of the Kohanim. B'shur Hadosh and the Shirim as follows. By Dosh, Shur Kigogeres Kishuba Ochin. The measure is a grogeres like any other malach, which has to do with foodstuffs. The ain disha el karka. Disha only applies by things which grow from the ground. Because up a Rambam Perches Din Zayin. Base the shir tzabem malabin. The shir for dyeing and bleaching. Because the Rambam Perches Din Yuna malabin is the same as you bleaches wool, or it's a bishlan or linen, or it's a shani. I'm not sure what shani is. Perhaps it's a shani is a reddish dye. It's not talking. So I don't know. I guess they had a specific material they used to dye red. Anyway, anything which is, but here bleaching it. Maybe it wasn't ready, bleaching it. I don't know exactly what it's referring to. A chayav, anything which is normally bleached, you're chayav. Kamashir was a shear. They lead us in the chut enough to weave, to spin one thread. Okar malays sita kaful. Which length would be a double sitchu arach arba tfachim, which is 4 tfachim long. He writes and that as somebody who dyes a string, which is a thread, which is 4 tfachim long, because there's something which you can spin such a thread, you're liable. Klomar. If you already have threads necessary, even you have wool and flax which have not yet been spun. Because if you spun enough, if you dyed enough of them from which you could spin a string like this, chayav reliable. Here write this by bleaching. The libur ein halacha because bleaching is only after it's already become a thread. Meluban they associate man a beggar katan. Bleaching is when you have a thread from which you can make a small garment. Gimel, the same derivatives. Talodas dash, a derivative of dash, kalisa ram perches, and the farik the dash. Extraction is the derivative of threshing. Shemudisho mafri shatva mishibolim. By threshing, you remove the grain from the stalks. Okay, come a farik, so for extraction. Shemafrish davar mi davar, remove something from another thing. Havitlo the dash, it's the derivative of dash. Tanya, we learned a dash from menapet kula melacha achasein. All these things were melacha perush Rashi. Menapes pishlam givulim. Menapes is extracting the flax from its stalks to make linen. Menapes semer gefen shemafarak arini. You extract the seeds from cotton. For Arukh HaShulchan, the Arukh says menapes is shemafri ochem afri. So you remove the food from its dirt. Menapes shemola shibolim. You rub the stalks until evidently you can get out the kernels. Aisha, because the Ramam, the Choli Vesabehema, somebody milks an animal, Chai Mishum Mefarek, he's Chai because of extraction. Circle at the main maker, Gidule Karka, and the animals called Gidule Karka, called things which goes to the ground, because it gets nourished from the ground. If it's Kasav, he roasts the rights, the Chayla Chai Mishum Mefarek, when you wound something or somebody, it's liable because of Mefarek. Zil beyond the Evasim Shinta Zain, Ayin Sham. He explained that previously. Also squeezing fruit because of the Chai Mishum Mefarek. Because of extraction. There are, in these cases, many halachos and details which will be explained in the simon. It says in Yerushalmi, I hate the kasis oges, somebody who removes the shells of rice, sorry, barley, chalukah, not sure chalukah is, Chai Mishum Dash, he's liable because of Dash. Klar meaning Hai Man the Kodesh Orzo Sorry Mochilka, Kela Sirkli Pasan, he's crushing them in order to remove I just added the word before. Their shells, Chai or their peels, Chai Mishum Dash Chai because of Dash. Hadaitasa Kamafarche Brashi Chitasa, a woman who kind of removes the membrane from the tops of the wheat in order to remove the kernels. It's chai mishum dash, mishmush hayad means well she uses her hand to parechas harashim to remove the membrane on the top, on the tops of the stalks of wheat. In this way, she removes their shells, their membranes around it. Similarly, if you have kitani b'kufna shemaka b'ishlan, you hit the flax. Should take some it should leave. It should be moved from its shell. Chayim mishum dash. It's also dash. Hein neshach tuma kamafrich bereisha chayim mishum dash. What does that mean? Chayim mishum sholek shumin. You grind, you rub garlic, who makes a shame to remove their heads. Same way I've seen a name. This was discussed in the last simon. I need to go clear kamikatsis ben gomazaya. Chayim mishum dash. Klomar meaning shorach some of the klipa lelonos. The soft part around the peel on trees. The kocho she's part of klipa, and you pound it so it should be separated from the peel. Not sure exactly what that looks like. Chaim mishum dash because of dash, but the word peel was a word I should remember before we're talking about rice, perhaps, and grain. Because more what surrounds them is a peel more than a shell. Be that as it may. Hey, tells us about derivatives of dyeing. Because around back that's the new down. Hosa ein hatzeva. Somebody who makes the ein hatzeva. What's that? We'll see in a moment. This is a derivative of tzaveh v'chayim. Kesar, how so? You put a certain dye into gall, into the derivative of gall nuts, and this makes evidently a strong black ink. This is considered to be tzaveh. or you put another type of dye into saffron water, which evidently makes everything green. Anytime you're making a type of ink of this sort, it's a derivative of tzovea. Right? Arguably, the siyas making the ink or the dye, lomikri tzovea, is not called dyeing. Hachitz is a devil unless you dye something with it. You look at that's not that we're not that if that's not the case. Bishul samamonim, when you cook, dyes because of dyeing, not because of cooking. Magamisha made the memes around Makenu. Magamisha says, yeah, the Rama's the way. Bishul samamonim stein. The cooking dyes two malachas because of cooking, and because of dyeing. Somebody who plasters the wall makes it white. Near the Havi to learn Savea. It's a derivative of dyeing. A woman who uses makeup to color her face. Havi Savea, it's consistent. Srak is a reddish tint. It's liable because it's Savea. Also, she puts dough on her face, which then, I guess, when you peel it, makes it red. That's also liable because of Taveh. Shani's bar practice is was explained back there. It's in Simin Shin Gimel Ayin Sham. Vav because of a Rambam Sham. Ain't Taveh Chayv Achet Teva Miskayim. Somebody dies not liable unless the dye is permanent. How about Teva Shem Miskayim, but dye which is not permanent, cloud at all. Kon Shavir Srak or Sheisha Gabi Parzel, like you to brush some type of color on top of metal or a choshes or copper with salvo, and you dye it, parts of your exam because it won't last. Right? You can move it. So like you put ink on aluminum foil, you can just remove it. It's not dyeing at all. Anytime the cannot be sustained on Shabbos, potter. It should be anytime the can't be sustained, it's potter on Shabbos. Dying. We hold. There's no dyeing by food and stuff. So that's why you can put the saffron in a food, even though it dyes it. Because there's no issue of coloring. I feel even if you have in mind that the food should take on a color. This is specifically where you have in mind to eat it yourself. But a merchant who dyes types of food or types of beverages, in order to enhance their countenance so that people should jump on them to buy him, Prima Gadim says. And that's possible. This is dying. So if you want to just for show, you shouldn't do it on Shabbos. Those that say somebody eats berries or other types of fruit which can die. So you should be careful. Don't touch a garment or a cloth because you're going to die it. Somebody will say it's okay because you're dirtying it. He says, wow. Big Kiddush or Shulchan is machmir. Be careful about this, not be mako. Now, as a big Kiddush, but Mishnah Bura, in one of those rare instances, he's mako. Who says you can lie them at hearing where you can't be so careful. But like Mishnah Arukh HaShulchan says, Ein lo akel, he says you can be mako. But Arukh HaShulchan explains itself. Such thing as laundering, when you're making something dirty. But tefillah, like I'm derech lichul, have tefillah. But maybe when you are dying, also when you make it dirty, it's also dying because dying in of itself is a dirty process. But if you have your hands get discolored from eating the berries, or even rubbing on your face, in the chashash, there's no problem. Since these are not things you should normally color, it's not dying. It's not like a woman puts on makeup. The Isha a woman does put makeup on. And there's no problem with dyeing your bread when you dip it into these fruits. There's no dyeing by food. Somebody who has a wound which is from which blood is coming forth. Wow. Again, another big chumrah. You shouldn't put a cloth on it. According to his opinion, which this allows, dyeing even if it's in a manner which makes it dirty. Connecting the beggar is and to take off some color from a garment which it fell. Yes, you saw those are forbidden. It's the because you're fixing the garment that way. Some people say it's okay. And he says it's okay because it's not considered to be fixing. It sounds like even it's mutter. But Mishnah says only mutter where you can't avoid doing it, but not deliberately. So if some food or some color from a berry fell on your garment and you're wiping it away, the fact that it might remove some of the color is not considered to be an issue. It's a big fetish. I would say that I would think it's laundering, but nope. Ches, tolodas mlabin, derivative of bleaching. Kasaram sham, the machabes begodim harei zeh tolodas mlabin. Somebody washes clothes. It's a derivative of bleaching. B'chayim you're liable. But so is that begging somebody squeeze the garment out shioti amayim shabo until you squeeze out the water from it. That's laundering. B'chayim you're liable. Shaschita mitzorcheki, with squeezing out the dirty water is part and parcel of laundering. Just like mixing is part of cooking. There is no such thing as squeezing by hair. Or also by hides, there's no halacha of squeezing. We'll explain this later on. Yushami says the magfar al money. Malabin includes magafer al money. What does that mean? You smoke sulfur on garments. Evidently, that causes them to become whiter. The sharka ma'azla. Somebody who klomar, meaning woman who puts blush or some other coloring on her face, or or she puts some sort of coloring on her weaving. In order to whiten it. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I mean, it sounds like that actually gives a color, not white. But I guess it's kind of like a makeup or some sort of compound which actually makes the face paler or makes the garment whiter, be that as it may. A tailor who puts the thread into his mouth. So in order to tighten it up, in order that it should go into the hole of the needle, like tailors do. Also, regular people do that too, and they want to get a thread which is a little bit diffused at the end, tight to get through a hole. You wet it. And everybody, evidently people who make belts do something similar. The putting in the mouth is chayim mishum lavi because you're cleaning it that way. It's a big finish. And it says that, I'm sorry. Evidently that this is by the belts. Also, this is similar to the tailor. You're being malabin with the saliva in your mouth. But of course, to be chayv the rice, so all these you need to have the length of a double seat. Mention is bar, which will explain to Arukh arba tvachim, which is 4 tvachim in length. Test kasvaram perches, soiched peas appears on tzimi meim. If you squeeze fruit to remove their beverages, chayv mishum farik, that's liable because of extraction. Me'en chayv achim b'mashkin shesog kikrogeres. Only liable if then the sum total of beverage you produce the size of a krogeres. Plus chayvim min atera. Sorry, ve'en chayvim min atera. You're not liable to the rice ella. Only on pressing olives and grapes. You're allowed to squeeze a cluster of grapes into food. It's not extraction if the beverage comes from food and ends up in food. It's because it's like moving food from food, which is not considered to be extraction. And so if you squeeze it into a vessel which has no food, this is considered to be pressing. If you milk into food or you nurse with you suck from the animal with your mouth, parts of your exempt and only liable when you milk into a vessel. if you milk in order that the milk should go for a loss. You're only milking evidently, perhaps for the cow's benefit. Gankin Farko, it's also considered extraction. This is a big issue Bizman Hazeh with milking on Shabbos, which the Chazon Ish dealt with. But Chazon Ish holds that it goes to Ibud. It's not the Raisa, and sounds like him, he holds it is the Raisa. Maybe he'll get into it later on. Yud. Perachaf Aleph Din Yubes Kasem Mefarchai Mishum Dosh. Somebody extracts his language because of Dosh. Somebody squeezes olives and grapes. Therefore, it's also midrabanan to squeeze berries and pomegranates. Since some people do squeeze them, say when they squeeze olives and grapes, because you might come to squeeze olives and grapes, which is the raisa. But other fruit, quinces and apples, and I forgot what was going on. Mutal lischot b'shalot b'Shabbos, you can squeeze on Shabbos. B'nei she'em b'nei schita, because you can't squeeze them. Ad kan l'shalom. Nisa shel Rambam b'schita peros shlosha machlokes. So three types of three categories here. B'zeistan novim chayav chatos, by olives and grapes are chayav chatos b'nei she'em omdim rum l'schita, because majority of olives and grapes are used for squeezing. L'sos mehem shem yain to make oil and wine. That's why they say with the rice, you're only liable on pressing olives and grapes. The the only fruit which is primarily for the purpose of the beverages are olives and grapes. You're not allowed to change any fruit from its original use. From with Chuma Meiser Sheni, they have to give it as is, except for olives and grapes. And Sofkim Shum Orla V'Chulei, V'Yavim B'Kur Mashka. There's only you only get Malchus for deriving benefit from Orla if you in the form of a beverage from olives and grapes. V'Yavim B'Kur Mashka, you can't be Kurim as a beverage except for that which comes from olives and grapes. V'Yavim B'Tam Shum Mashka, and the only beverages besides obviously water, you only make peros, which are matami because as beverages are olive oil and grape juice. And you only bring out of mizbech olive oil and grape juice. But berries and pomegranates came to instead there isn't there for people to squeeze them. Also to squeeze mirabanan. Unless you come to also squeeze olives and grapes. Charcoal, peros, all of the fruits. Mutar l'chatchila sochton, you're allowed to squeeze them in l'chatchila. Fisha ain derech l'sochton cloud, because not the derech to squeeze them at all. And we will continue with this idea with Hashem tomorrow.